And we are live.
Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Rudowski of WeAreChange.org, and of course, I'm joined at the helm inside the studio, Jason Bermas. Right now, I am somehow in College Station, Texas, outside of the Reed Arena here at the Free and Equal Conference, where I just gave a talk. So yeah, I'm doing everything mobile now. Got my cell phones ready, Skyped in, and we are going to be live for 1 hour. The show must go on. We're here almost every single Sunday doing a 1 hour live broadcast of the most important news that happened this week. Of course, we're going to be talking to you guys and participating with you guys. Super chats go first. We're trying to do this broadcast on Facebook and Twitter, but of course, YouTube is the main platform that I'm going to be checking comments on. Of course, it's just easier just to stay on one of those. And also, this show, we are going to be giving out another $500 worth of Dash to you, the viewers, and it will come, all the details of that, after this news broadcast. And of course, with all the important, crazy things that happened this week, I want to talk about Jason Bermas' favorite musician, Kanye West. I don't know if you guys saw what happened, but the whole Twitterverse was put in a spiral because Kanye West decided to say that Emma Gonzalez, one of the survivors of the Florida incident who's pushing for gun control, was his personal hero, which again put many Trump supporters in the tailspin and confusion, which of course we saw here. And as we reported to you, and you called it very correctly, Jason. Jason, you're telling me anything coming out of the Caitlyn Jenner household is not going to be good, and that he's probably just doing this. And this is another repeat of the Charlie Sheen kind of phenomenon that happened where celebrities are saying crazy things and getting a whole bunch of publicity on it. And who would think celebrities are doing just something for publicity, being all over the political map? So I definitely have to tell you, Jason, you were definitely right on the money when it came to your kind of political analysis of this whole Kanye West situation that we were talking about last week.
Well, Luke, what did you expect? You look at this guy. So he goes from one end of the spectrum. Now, before anybody knew that he had an album dropping, right? That's when he goes full board Trump. He goes full board Trump. He's not... See, nobody said he was a dumb man. In fact, he's a very intelligent man, okay? And he's just achieved so much. In order to have that kind of drive and success in any medium, especially somewhere in the entertainment industry, Luke, you're not a dumb guy, okay? I think Chappelle broke that down very well. However,
these Trump supporters are like, yes, he's red pilling people, he's rolling people. Like, no, you're pretty much just being used for PR purposes. I mean, the Kardashians are brilliant at it, whether it's releasing sex tapes or creating some controversy or creating something artificial there to have people talking about them in a brilliant PR, strategic, psychological way. Kathleen Jenner's like, screw it, I'm just going to chop off my private parts. I'll get all the attention out of all these Kardashians, and he did. And now Kanye is going back and forth within the political system, which is very fascinating to see. And we were calling it correctly here that it's just going to be a poop show. Just based on more PR. Sorry, my internet connection is going up and down a little bit. I think it's fine now. Can you hear me, Jason?
No, absolutely. It was really odd, Luke, because it may have not have been your internet connection because we did drop out of the live stream real quick, but we had everything else going. Really weird stuff. I don't know. Hey, I'm on the Spectrum internet. I've got the highest package you could possibly buy here, and we're back live. So everything seems to be good, my friend. Although it looks like the live stream over here in YouTube only is giving us a problem. Let's go check the Facebook live stream, which is it's really odd. Maybe we're gonna have to restart this.
We'll just turn down the Periscope or turn on the Facebook, and let's just keep it on YouTube.
Yeah, but no, it looks like it broke up on both of them. It's really odd. Maybe we're gonna have to.
But we're still good. We're still live. We'll just still got people watching. We'll just turn down. Okay.
No, those are all now. Facebook. I'm pretty sure that the Facebook ones. Yeah, because it's done. But I'm going to take it off right now.
Yeah, take it off. We'll just stay here on YouTube. But regardless of this, like, malarkey with all these celebrities using people and politics in order to sell more record albums, get more controversy, and just be absolutely crazy poop shows, let's actually talk about the stuff that actually does matter. And I was kind of fascinated to see the news of finally peace in the Koreas, seeing the North Korean leadership meet with the South Korean leadership, them even planting trees of peace together, agreeing that the Korean War is finally over and agreeing to finally peace. Now, of course, this brings a lot this brings a lot of wind out of the sails of Donald Trump, who obviously wants to take full credit for him, with Kim Jong-un now kind of preventing that, doing it with South Korea first. Obviously, there's a big summit coming up with North Korea and the United States, with Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un meeting an actual face-to-face, which is going to be really, really interesting to see the body language that's going to be invoked there. We already saw a lot of interesting body language. Macron, the Rothschild banker, who was just in the White House this week as well, with Donald Trump posturing for dominance with the little Frenchman who was trying to outbully him with that very significant body language that he was showing. But with the Korea situation, it definitely is something that is good news, but it will be very interesting to see how it goes. I know we got some news articles there ready to show everyone. What's the first one that we have up there?
Well, the first one that we showed is the fact that North Korea has offered to give up its nukes if we vow, and I say we as in the United States, vows not to attack, Luke.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a huge story. As we know, like, the scuttlebutt that we're hearing is that North Korea has already developed a nuclear weapon, that they don't need to keep developing it. So with them shutting down their kind of test sites and supposedly denuclearizing, I think we're trying to push this forward so they have a better leverage when it comes to negotiating. But seeing the kind of body language, seeing the conversation, seeing the decisions that were done with South Korea and North Korea, it really does seem like a very promising chance for finally peace, less tensions, less worry about all-out war. Of course, in Asia. So obviously, this is something that is very, very good to see. But of course, there's also a lot of interesting things that may develop preceding this. As we know, Kim Jong-un met with China first to negotiate with them, because China has been using North Korea as a big buffer zone against the United States that has a large sum of military bases all along the Asian coast. And China and Russia have always been supportive of North Korea. They're one of their few partners in the world that they actually do business with and do negotiate with and do work with, mainly because they're kind of this buffer state. And we've seen throughout the last few years, even with U.S. President Barack Obama, the offer was always made by the North Koreans saying, hey, stop threatening to bomb our country. Stop flying B-52 bombers over our country. Stop doing these live exercise drills that simulate you destroying our country. And if you promise to do that, we will not work on the nuclear weapon. China, Russia agreed to that deal. North Korea agreed to that deal. It was offered to Barack Obama a number of times. He declined it. It was offered to Donald Trump a number of times. He declined it. But it now looks like that deal that we've been talking about. We've been talking about this deal. Just look up on our YouTube channel, North Korea. Just put it in the search bar. You'll see us talking about this deal for a very long time. The United States was very stubborn. They're finally letting loose here. But, of course, they're still trying to play hardball. As we know, Mathis and sorry, it wasn't Mathis. It was the former CIA director and also the vice president who met with Kim Jong-un secretly just a few days ago.
Pompeo.
So it's going to be Pompeo. So it's going to be very interesting to see this kind of convergence of all these world powers coming together and what they will decide. But obviously there's more lurking in the back end that people do need to know about.
Well, you know, Luke, we talked about this, my friend, big time last week, because it was kind of announced that indeed he had struck a deal with North Korea. It was announced that Pompeo had gone there secretly over Easter weekend and historically met with Kim Jong-un. We have not had a face-to-face on that level for decades. That right there was huge progress, and it made me think to myself, wow. And, you know, I'm not going to get into conspiracy theories here, but as we discussed last week on the program, and we're going to get to Syria later here, we discussed last week that it appears that Trump, before letting off those missiles, got in touch with Russia, and they kind of gave him sites that were okay to go after, that civilians wouldn't be killed at, and that they could kind of disarm. And you notice it didn't trigger World War III. We didn't go into some kind of hot war. There was a bit of jabbing back and forth. And obviously it's come out more and more that there was no chemical attack in Duma. And again, We're going to get to what's going on.
It depends, because there's just the earth-shattering explosion that just happened in Syria right now, and that attack did embolden and did signal to other countries like Israel that, yes, it's okay to bomb them without any kind of repercussions, and the Russians won't do anything. But we're getting other scuttlebutt and other information with the Russians coming out and saying that they actually reached out to the United States, and the United States reached out to them. And before Trump started bombing these supposed chemical weapons attack, the Russians approved which sites they could bomb and they couldn't bomb. And obviously, it does look like that happened. The French said that there was communications beforehand. The United States said that there was no communications. And obviously, a lot of empty buildings were hit. No casualties were found. And obviously, no chemical weapons were destroyed at all, since obviously civilians were pictured next to the bombing sites right after that happened. The United States also said every single missile hit, which we know we were getting conflicting videos of those missiles being shot down by old S-120 and S-200 Russian military defense systems. What's the next article we have on North Korea?
Well, Luke, it was segueing right into this. I mean, who is this bad for business? I mean, here it is. Here's this article right here. It's Fortune. Here who isn't winning from the denuclearization talks and friendlier North Korea-South Korea relations. And this is an extensive article letting you know, hey, by the way, Monday, these military-industrial complex stocks, I hope they plummet. And they should plummet. And because, listen, no matter, with their man Bolton in there, we're about to get to Bolton, and we're about to show a very shocking clip on who this is bad for business for. I pray into God, Luke, that we're right on this one, and it's kumbaya time, and we are going to have a better Korean situation. But I know you're a pessimist. Go ahead.
I am not a pessimist. I'm a skeptic. Usually I'm just a big optimist, especially for my life and everyone else's life and all this hippy-dippy stuff. I'm all into that. But when it comes to geopolitical foreign policy, you have to remain skeptical, especially with the historical lineage of everything that happened before, especially with the devastation the United States caused the Koreas during the Korean War, and how that stay was very important for the North Koreans. And we have to look at all sides of the story here, because, yes, defense contractor stocks have gone down dramatically whenever there was this announcement of peace within the North Koreas, which shows you a lot of like what is kind of foreshadowing of what is kind of happening here, of who really has interest, because obviously the lobbying interest of the military-industrial complex is extremely significant and very fast, and has led us and the United States to pointless wars for absolutely no reason at all except for profit. And that's why when Trump decided to send those missiles over to the Syrian chemical weapons sites, really just empty buildings that the Russians said that they could bomb. That's why we prevented World War III. When he did that, when they did all that crap, the stocks of the defense contractors went dramatically up. Now there's peace. It's a great thing, but people are complaining. People like Wolf Blitzer, which are really just mouthpieces and propagandists for the military-industrial complex, that just said something extremely outrageous. And again, this again shows you the utter bold-faced lie and hypocrisy about this kind of human rights argument that the United States cares about other kind of human life when they're committing atrocities like in Yemen, which U.S. Senator Rand Paul brought up to Wolf Blitzer, and then Wolf Blitzer had this to say.
That's absolutely right, Luke.
Are you going to play that video? Do you have that video?
Yep, it's playing right now.
Okay.
We are refueling the Saudi bombers, so we are essentially part of the bombing campaign.
Well, only it's super low for some reason. Hold on one second, Luke. Let's discuss it for a second. Go into what we're about to watch.
I mean, this is U.S. Senator Rand Paul talking about why are we arming Saudi Arabia? Why are we a part of their war effort and helping them supposedly strategically bomb Yemen? And there's horrible atrocities coming out from Yemen, with weddings being just blown up, innocent civilians and human beings just being obliterated by the Saudi Arabian regime, along with the United Kingdom and the United States. The severity of the problem has caused the worst humanitarian crisis in the world right now. And Rand Paul brought that up. He was like, if we really care about human life, why, I'm ad-libbing. Obviously, of course, I don't have the video in front of me. I can't even listen to it. But he's saying, why is it good for the United States to participate with Saudi Arabia, causing the worst humanitarian crisis in this world, leaving hundreds of thousands, close to over 1 million people on the brink of death from starvation and disease, when we're supposed to be doing the right humanitarian thing? And Wolf Blitzer's like, well, it's good for business. It's good for the stock markets. It just shows you, that's exactly the mouthpiece who he works for. It's the kind of neo-hawks, neoconservative, just asinine, duplicitous kind of. This ultimately just points out how everything is just opposite. When we're talking about defense, we're really talking about offense. When we're talking about just how people are living their lives, we're really just destroying people's lives. We're not liberating and helping anyone else, and we're seeing that the direct result of that through freaking Yemen. And for it to be a profit endeavor, for it to be something that people make money off of, and being justified, that is just an ultimately sickening, disgusting way that shows you that it's not how life should be. You shouldn't be profiting off killing and making people suffer like the United States, UK, and Saudi Arabia are making Yemen suffer right now. And it's an absolute tragedy, and it's a part of the world that I'm actually trying to go to, trying to do some on the ground reporting on there right now. So definitely, just stay tuned. There's a lot of things that we have up our sleeves that we want to do here at WeAreChange, and giving you a full eye perspective on what's really happening on the ground is extremely important to us. So definitely stay tuned to this YouTube channel, and possibly even a Yemen trip that I may partake in.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the audio is so low on this. It's literally so low. I just tried to cue it up in our actual editor that people aren't going to be able to hear it. But he talks about how people are going to lose their jobs, and this is going to be bad for the economy if Rand Paul goes against this bill in Congress. And this was the bill. I think it was a $1.4 billion arms deal to Saudi Arabia. And Rand Paul right here rightly points out that we're the ones picking the targets. We're the ones that are saying, here are the missiles, we're picking the targets. He goes, that sounds a lot to me like we're at war. And our founding fathers, for a reason, said we shall not, or the executive branch shall not declare war. No, it should be Congress. So we're in what he describes as what we talk about, a proxy war, Luke.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole thing that's happening in Libya. That's the whole thing that happened in Iraq. That's the whole thing that happened in Syria. That's happening right now in Yemen. It's just unfolding of world powers vying for more control, screwing over all these other countries who are in the middle of it, who sadly have to pay the high price of it. And it's these kind of just duplicitous, unhuman, spinely little redcoats like Wolf Blitzer and his bastard cousin-in-law, probably, John Bolton, who are pushing these kind of ideas out there and trying to justify them that, yes, bombing and destroying and making people suffer is great for business. It's a good thing. And that to me is just the most kind of sickening attitude anyone could have in this world. And it's ultimately evil. Like, let's just call it for what it is. Do we have that meme? Is that the meme?
It's up there, Luke.
Coming up there. See, that's why I sent you this meme. I found this meme. And, even though a lot of people are celebrating about this peace in North Korea, there's still a lot to worry about here, especially with John Bolton at the helm. Obviously, John Bolton was one of the spearheads behind the Iraq war, one of the chief neoconservatives who pushed this atrocity that has created ISIS, that has created the suffering and death of millions and millions of people in Iraq, and created the horrible geopolitical situation we have there now. And it's very interesting. Bolton right now is saying that the United States won't meet with North Korea unless North Korea denuclearizes already before the talks. So he's trying to take away the one thing that North Korea has to lobby effectively away from North Korea and to argue effectively. So this is going to be very difficult for North Korea to accept to these terms, with Bolton saying, we won't meet with you unless you denuclearize. North Korea still may denuclearize, but of course it puts North Korea in a very hard place. And he's going on publicly, like we mentioned last week, that he, quote, wants a Libya model for North Korea. Now, what he's talking about is that in 2003, 2004, during the peak of the Iraq war, Muammar Gaddafi of Libya said, look, guys, I'm going to do the right thing here. I'm going to get rid of my chemical weapons. And of course, he got praise from NATO, from the United States, from the United Kingdom. He had a whole big kind of celebration for it. And it was his way of trying to be more favorable to kind of U.S. geopolitical politics and cozy up to the United States. This was when the whole debate about weapons of mass destruction hit. And this was a big PR move for the United States, with Gaddafi saying, look, you guys are doing this. Here are my chemical weapons. I won't be using chemical weapons. I am giving this off to you guys. This is something that now Bolton wants to use with North Korea, but Kim Jong-un even publicly said before. To me, this is kind of Bolton trying to antagonize as much as he can and to destroy these peace efforts as much as he can, because Kim Jong-un publicly said before, I will not get rid of my nukes. We learned the lessons from Libya, and I will not be making the same mistakes as Muammar Gaddafi. That's what Kim Jong-un said. And now, this is the main talking point that Bolton is getting out there. We're going to do to North Korea what we did to Libya. And then what actually proceeded when Libya got rid of their supposed chemical weapons. It was even unclear if Libya had chemical weapons. It was more considered a PR stunt by some geopolitical experts. But what happened with Libya? Well, Muammar Gaddafi talked about creating a gold-backed African currency that would go against the U.S. dollar on the world trade, especially for oil. And because of that, NATO, the United States, bombed the crap out of him, supported rebels, and had him tortured and killed in the streets of Libya, which is now leading to a stateless state where there is human slavery and factions of radical Islamic terrorists and other people and former governments fighting each other. And Libya right now is one of the worst countries that you could possibly be in, with horrendous human rights atrocities, and left in a severely worse place than it was when Muammar Gaddafi was in power. So Kim Jong-un obviously knows the lessons of history, knows the lessons of happening here, and I kind of see Bolton positioning himself, trying to sabotage this as much as he can. Will he be successful? I don't know, but we shouldn't expect much from him since again, he has already caused a lot of tremendous human suffering with his actions beforehand, and he is not sorry about it. He has not learned those lessons, and he is only pushing for more of that chaos to happen.
No, I absolutely agree with you, Luke. And John Bolton is not a great guy. We've got an expose on the main channel. John Bolton is the swamp. He is a guy from the Project of New American Century. And let's not forget Scooter Libby just being pardoned. George Bush on television saying that was the right thing to do. Good for Scooter and his family. We're so happy for Scooter and his family. You know, we're so happy that only Scooter went to prison and Paul Wolfowitz, Dick Cheney, Donald Rumsfeld, myself, and others didn't go to prison for all the wars that we started. And you know, good for them, huh? Way to get through it. Now, we've been talking Bolton, and Bolton is terrible, and we have to keep our eye on him. But last week, you know, I kind of pondered, especially since the bar has been set so low, Luke. It's been set so low that if North Korea and South Korea actually get together, well, you know what? This guy deserves the Nobel Prize. He definitely deserves it. And I know people were like, "Oh, Jason, it's Trump," but it seems like there is a GOP lawmaker planning to nominate Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. And right now, the leader of South Korea is saying that this happened through Trump. I mean, Dennis Rodman's taking a little credit too, and that's not a joke. He's jumping in there. But
give Dennis Rodman the Nobel Peace Prize. He deserves it more, I think.
I'm just saying, when you gave the last president the Nobel Peace Prize for winning the presidency and allowing him to continue wars in Afghanistan, Iraq, Guantanamo Bay, allowing the ever-present rise of private military groups, or PMGs, starting the Syrian conflict with the CIA eventually. Let's be honest, there's no way that man should have the Nobel Peace Prize. If the Trumpster gets, I mean, they're holding hands in South Korea. It's like a music video. It's a Coca-Cola commercial, for God's sakes. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, if that's the case, he deserves it. But let's lead that into the next story, as you were ranting and raving before. Bombs are still going off in Syria. We're watching it right now. Bombs are still going off. Give us your take.
Well, not just any bombs. We're talking about a major bomb just went off a few moments ago that registered a 2.6 on the Richter scale. I mean, the video, can you play some of the video?
Oh, we're playing it.
We can play it over the background that we're talking about. But this is it's still unknown who committed this huge bombing of Syrian military positions. Everyone is saying it is most likely Israel, as we have seen Israel being very aggressive towards Syria, which of course houses Hezbollah and the Iranian military forces in their country that are going against ISIS. And Iran and Hezbollah also see Israel as the enemy. And of course, Israel is threatened because they are right on their border. And Israel is doing everything in their power, along with the United States. And it's probably one of the main reasons why the United States right now is keeping their forces inside of Syria. This week, also, French soldiers have joined Trump's effort and the United States' effort, and they are now also stationed in northeast Syria, a very oil-rich region, a region that is filled with predominantly Kurds who are working with the United States and are standing there for kind of unknown reasons, since everyone's talking about ISIS being totally defeated. And this was one of the major talking points from Trump, saying we're going to defeat ISIS and leave. Well, ISIS is pretty much gone inside of Syria, but the United States is going to be staying there, and they even declared indefinitely until they say so. So this is obviously a prolonged conflict. Obviously, Donald Trump's actions with bombing the Syrian chemical weapons depots, supposedly, has emboldened other allies like Israel, and Israel has taken it upon themselves to even launch a strike before Trump launched his strike, to launch a strike afterwards, and now they're launching this huge one. I mean, this video is just it's just devastating. It's horrible to see this huge eruption of this bomb that is obviously going to have a lot of casualties and has been as powerful as to even create an earthquake. So obviously Israel is emboldened with the United States' actions, with John Bolton, of course, being a fervent supporter of Israel, and now they're acting out as much as they can. And again, many experts say that this is probably going to lead to a bigger conflict between Iran and Israel. And if that happens, their allies, Russia with Iran and China, and Israel and the United Kingdom and the United States, are going to be involved in yet another proxy war that is going to have more significant devastation than the proxy war that we're seeing in Syria right now. So we're on the brink of something bigger, and of course a lot of people are celebrating peace in the Koreas. I still am a little bit skeptical. I still want to see how things will unfold and transpire in that region. For right now, it looks like your kind of analysis on it is right, but I'm very, very skeptical. But we have to also understand that the Middle East, once again, is just a huge powder keg, as we are seeing moments ago with this enormous explosion that is going to cause massive devastation to the Syrian military and the Syrian people.
Yeah, Luke, it's pretty wild stuff. And we have to remember, after this alleged chemical attack by every standard now that did not occur. Can we establish that? There's been zero evidence presented on the side of it occurring other than the French writing a paper that the video they saw was in accordance with a chemical weapons attack.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, we covered this on our show. There's a boy who was in the video of the supposed chemical weapons attack saying that, these rebels and terrorists grabbed me off the street, put me in the hospital, started throwing cold water at me. And the boy is coming out saying that there was no chemical weapons attack. There's independent journalists. There's journalists from the United Kingdom, from the Independent, going down there reporting, saying, we talked to everyone, the doctors, the nurses, the people, the civilians. There was no chemicals attack here. So that's the information we're getting from eyewitnesses, survivors, the people who were there, even Western journalists who went down there, even independent journalists who went down there, which you've been highlighting. You actually put up a video on our Facebook page with this independent journalist who went down there. He's like, there's no evidence that there was an actual chemical weapons attack, but yet they still used it as a justification, didn't wait to investigate, and just decided to launch the bombs, which of course not only emboldens this kind of fervor, this military industrial complex in the stock market, but it also emboldens countries like Israel that are really, really, really set on not having any Iranian and Hezbollah influence on their border, especially with them getting so much influence and having the victory inside of Syria. They do not want Syria to have a complete victory in that region, and they're doing everything they can to prolong it. And now the United States is there with our soldiers, with even now French soldiers that just came in there this week, risking their lives for absolutely no reason at all. And of course, this complicates the situation very much. This pisses off Turkey a lot, since Turkey is at war with the Kurds, and obviously the Kurds are the main kind of allies of the United States and the French in the northeast Syrian region. So this makes absolutely no sense at all. I don't see this ending well. This huge provocation by Israel will be responded to in some way or shape or form by the Syrian government, by the Iranians. And already we're seeing tough talk. We're seeing really, really tough talk from Israel saying, yeah, we'll go to war with Iran. Iran saying, yeah, we'll go to war with you too. And it's only a matter, I think, of moments until that fully breaks out and of course their allies would be engaged, which of course would put the world in danger. So yeah, that's a Nobel Peace Prize. I don't know about that.
Well, again, Luke, I just want to point out that after that chemical attack that didn't occur, real missiles were fired, not at empty zones, but immediately after by Israel in Syria. And to kind of bring this back to John Bolton, in, I believe, 2007, John Bolton was very behind a missile attack by Israel into Syria that was supposedly a conjunction effort between North Korea and Syria in a nuclear plant. So
yeah. Let's just be honest here. With Pompeo and Bolton in there, the Trump kind of foreign policy is compromised. I mean, Pompeo, I'm just reading this right now from the Los Angeles Times. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo calls Iran the greatest sponsor of terrorism in the world. And there's a great picture with him in Saudi Arabia shaking the hand of the Saudi Arabian leadership. And as we know, Wahhabism mainly comes from Saudi Arabia. Most of the mosques that bred radical Islamic terrorists that have committed terrorist attacks on the West come from Saudi Arabia, sponsored and funded by Saudi Arabia. He's doing this in just the most absolute asinine way, and Trump's compromised. There's no way you could give that much weapons to Saudi Arabia and then win a Nobel Peace Prize. The world is upside down, and it makes absolutely no sense at all.
Well, you're not wrong, Luke, but at the same time, again, when you give the last president the Nobel Peace Prize because he won the presidency, I can see...
Did Hitler get one? Did Hitler get one? Did Mao Zedong get one? Did Stalin get one? Probably.
I'm sure they were nominated at some point.
Yeah, nominated,
honestly, you should probably look into that because unfortunately, history has a bad habit of giving people like that accolades that they don't deserve.
Yeah, Henry Kissinger. There's even environmentalists who are and other people who are showing their support to Genghis Khan because he let there was lower global emissions when he was alive because he was killing so many people. This is how some of these people actually think. This is how backwards and asinine some of these people actually are to be promoting and celebrating genociders as great victorious profit makers and healers of this world. What is wrong with people? I don't get it, Jason. I get so confused sometimes.
Well, in other news, Luke, maybe in the comedy arena at this point, the great Fedor Emelianenko, as we kind of shift subjects, because, hey, we now have the congressional report out there. They're saying no collusion with Russia, with the Trump administration at all. We know that they went into Cohen's office kind of illegally, got a lot of burner phones, got a lot of documentation, and now they're visiting MMA legend Fedor Emelianenko, because obviously Fedor helped Trump collude with Putin to win the election in the United States.
This just shows you how much hooey this whole Russian Gate investigation is, which we've been calling on this YouTube channel for years. Ever since this whole Russia conspiracy with Trump came out, we were like, no, that's bullcrap. You look at the foreign policy maneuvers and everything that's happening all around, that's absolute bullcrap. Look at the people Trump has around him. That's absolute bullcrap. It's a distraction, and it looks like it's just dirty political tricks against Donald Trump. Again, we have to call things out critically. There's things that Trump does that need to be called out. But when the establishment and the media criticize him for supposed Russian connections, you have to call it for what it is, and it's hooey, and it's absolute bullcrap, and it's just a way to put more political pressure on Trump and distract us from the actual real issues that matter, and they've done a brilliant job at it. We see CNN, we see MSNBC, NBC, ABC, just go on and on and on. Russia, with the DNC, with the Democrats. Russia. And what are they doing? They're looking after porn stars' legal cases. They're looking after MMA fighters. They're interviewing MMA fighters. Like, this is not talking about the collusion and investigating the collusion with Russia. This is a smear campaign by another wing of the establishment. Donald Trump has aligned himself with one, but it's pushing Trump towards a bigger establishment on the right. And we're seeing the whole kind of fake left-right kind of big establishment fight that's happening here. And it's all really just a big old distraction that is just pushing us away from actual reality and the things that matter in this world. And it's just stupid. It's so dumb. They have nothing. They're going after MMA fighters. What? They're like, and their main connection is Vladimir Putin saw a fight of Fedor Emelianenko. Okay.
Well, let me tell you what's really going on here, and I'm going to explain. Yeah. The fishing expedition went into the next level when they got Cohen's documentation. Now, for those who are not familiar with Fedor Emelianenko, his brother Alexander Emelianenko is also a former MMA fighter. He also happens to be a high-level Russian mobster. He has the tattoos. He's been in and out of jail. Now, M1, the organization that has solely represented Fedor for well over, I mean, probably going on 2 decades at this point, also has big-time oligarch and Russian mafia connections. So Cohen, being the lawyer of involved, I believe, in the Affliction fights. Now we're talking about over a decade ago, bringing Fedor into these fights. There's probably some financial shenanigans. So this in itself, Luke, may not be going after Trump, but it may be an expedition to go after Cohen to get him to flip on other information that, again, has nothing to do with Russia, but may get Trump on a technicality or some other indictment. The thing that's most interesting is, Judicial Watch tweeted this out, and sometimes they do good work. They asked this week, how much money have you spent? Because there's still no accountability for how much money. I mean, not only did they go after Fedor on Tuesday in a very short interview, according to this article, but they stuck around for the fights on Saturday. We're paying for the FBI to watch Frank Mir get upset in stunning fashion live on Paramount TV. It was a 60-second fight. I watched it. I thought it was great. Good for Fedor. But my point being is, the 9/11 Commission had a $14 million budget. They were given $15 million total. They whitewashed the entire thing on arguably the defining moment of our foreign and domestic policy today. And that got $15 million. I would say my guess is at least $500 million has been spent. And it is atrocious. It needs to end. We know what this is. And Luke, we got our first super chat. So I'm going to move on from this ridiculous story.
It's just dirty political tricks. That's all it is. It's
Yes.
just a big distraction with the left establishment versus the right establishment trying to use any underhanded technique to get the other person to speak. And they're hoping Trump will just be unscripted like he is, and he usually talks out of his butt sometimes, and he just rambles on sometimes. So they're hoping to get him on a technicality that he supposedly lied, and they're trying to put the pressure on him to obviously align himself more with the right-wing establishment, which he's doing a very good job at and has been trying to do for a very long time.
Well, they're still trying to negotiate Trump just to get into that office so they can sit there and get him to answer questions on camera. Because listen, man, obviously he's got skeletons in his closet. He's probably got illegitimate children floating around everywhere, literally floating around everywhere. Okay. And I know people hate it when I have to bring up things like reality, Luke, but that is a reality. So he's got skeletons in his closet. They know they can go after him for that. They know how they got Clinton on basically him on tape lying about an affair on a woman. This was the Whitewater investigation. He got off on the real crimes, and we're going to talk about politicians getting off on real crimes in a moment. Point is, they're going hard, they're going big, they're going to MMA fights, and they're spending all of our money on a bunch of Johnny nonsense. So let's go to this super chat. We got a 2 now. Well, this is big time. Guys, thank you so much. The super chats absolutely help this program like you don't even understand. And this one here, just saw Invisible Empire. That's a film I did now 8 years ago, Luke. I had its 8th anniversary a couple weeks ago. Great work. Check out Blackstone Intel, ETNR with Jake Morphonius on YouTube. I've seen some of the Blackstone Intel stuff, and they've done some really good stuff with the Vegas work. So thank you very much, Captain Planet. We really do appreciate you. Let's see what this other one here is. Jason, as a New Yorker, what do you think about here? This is great. This is thank you, my man, because we were going to save this for the end of the show, but now we're going to it. What do you think about all the corruption in New York and how New York is turning into more of a police state? Regards, New York City. So, Luke, we know, and you especially, because you've been around the world. Now, I've traveled the country, but you get out of New York State, and I'm not just... Now, first of all, New York City is a hotbed for police. You can't go a block without seeing 5 police in the day, and police cars everywhere.
It's a prison. It's an open-air prison with small, like, Disney World corporate crappy attractions they have to pay top dollar for. That make absolutely no sense. You got to pay $6 for a cup of coffee now. They're corporatized this entire city, cleansed it of any life, of any culture, of any kind of existence that it actually had before. And then this particularly peeves me too, because again, ever since 9/11, then New York City really started to become this police state. Really, with Giuliani, New York City started becoming a police state, and they used the broken window kind of analogy, where people committed small crimes, but they were charged very severely in New York City. But right now, there's a limit to it. It's getting awfully just insanely ridiculous. Like, I know, like I've been around and I see what's going on. Like, I understand, like, someone pees, yeah, get a ticket. That's fine. You know, like, you shouldn't be peeing on other people's property or people have to walk by. That's reasonable, all right? But what's happening in the city is not just that. People are getting charged for having a cup of coffee on the subway. People are getting charged because they decided to swing around the pole in the subway in just, like, a silly way. People are getting charged and ticketed for riding a bike on a sidewalk slowly, or even just sitting on a bike and just walking it on a sidewalk. The level of policing is just exemplifying of how it's really just extortion, especially in New York City. I had a drunk driver hit my car. I had to go off in a high-speed chase against him. As I'm on the phone with the cops, I make sure I like went around him. I like blocked him in. He couldn't move anywhere. I got out the car. I'm on the phone with the cops. The guy and girls come out drunk and stumbling, and I'm like, "You guys messed up." And they're like crying. I'm like, "No, you guys are gonna have to face like reality here. You guys are driving drunk. You guys could get someone killed. You guys need to be dealt with." And I'm sitting there, literally 3 hours. 3 hours. This happened at like 2:00 in the morning. 5:00 in the morning, the cops come. 5:00. I made a phone call. 5:00 in the morning, the cops come. And at that point, I was like, "Park your gosh darn car over here. Give me the like I'm gonna be watching your car. You guys walk home. I got your license plate number. I'll just call the insurance." And the cops are like, "What did you do? You did something bad." I'm like, "What? What are you talking about?" The cops try to get me. I forgot what it even was. They were like,
You're assisting them, right?
You were probably pulling out too fast. You didn't look when you were pulling out." I'm like, "What are you talking about? You weren't there." I just, like, this guy hit me when I was parked. I went up after him, and I stopped him. And he was a drunk driver. And I made sure, like, I had to be the freaking police officer. And it makes absolutely no sense. The guy didn't even get charged. They don't care about when people get hurt. They don't care about anything else. But if they get a way to generate revenue, this is the feeling overall I have. I know there's some good cops out there, but overall in New York City, there's a lot of bad apples that just don't give a damn, that want to do their status. They want to reach their quota, reach their tickets, give you tickets. Like you have a window that's tinted just a little bit. Oh, they'll get you. They got me for that. I had a little tinted window. They stopped me for that. They'll give me a ticket for that. I have to go to court because I have a tinted window in New York City. But a drunk driver is mowing cars down. It could all kill somebody. No, that's not a point. Someone gets shot and stabbed. They'll take forever to get there to you. They're basically pointless and useless in majority of the times that I've experienced. It was police officers beating me up when I was 16 that got me engaged into everything that was happening politically in this country, because it was just a heavy-handed approach that is unhuman-like. And people say, yes, we need tough crime, needs to be handled toughly. That's not what's happening. It's pretty much a profit motive, an open-air prison where you can't even sit on a subway with a cup of coffee because they'll fine you and give you a ticket for it. You put your legs up on a chair, no one's on there, doesn't care, doesn't matter, you'll get a ticket. You'll get a ticket for anything. And it's just, sorry, I'm just going on a rant. This really pisses me off because I really used to love New York City, but now it's becoming unbearable and unlivable.
Well, the thing is, it's kind of beyond New York City. You have all that going on in New York, but you get outside of New York City, and you've been up here. It's cow country, baby. We got farms everywhere, but we have a huge police presence compared to Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania borders about 65 miles away from me, Luke. I drive into Pennsylvania. Sometimes I can go to and leave wherever I'm going in Pennsylvania, as long as it's not a huge city like Pittsburgh or Philadelphia, and I don't see a police officer. If you're on the highway in New York for 20 minutes, guaranteed at least 4 state troopers. And talking about corruption beyond the police state, and this is by, I'm going to try to say it right, Bakishmal. we got a second trial coming up for former Assembly Speakerman Sheldon Silver that's going to start Monday. Let me explain this to people. The man was the scapegoat in a huge corruption trial with Cuomo and his cronies, okay? Stealing money, backpatting their friends, all sorts of collusion. The jury did what they were supposed to do. They found him guilty. If that were me or you, and this is over a year ago, by the way, we'd be in a place called prison. We'd be serving hard time. We'd be in a very uncomfortable living situation, especially in the shower. And no one would give us a second trial, friend. Okay? This guy's going to get off. And you know how I know? There's been one national story about this, and it was released about an hour. It was New York Daily News or New York Times, and I couldn't bring it up because I have my allotment of their free misinformation. And I had to find Eyewitness News, ABC 7, upstate New York local, because nobody's covering this. And the thing is that I really believe they're going to let this guy get off, and he is just a microcosm of what's wrong with New York State and politics in general, Luke.
Yeah, if you look at the micro level, it's just as sinister as the bigger level, but they get away with a lot more because not a lot of people are paying attention. I really do think, like, if we really want to start making big national changes, we have to start locally. And there's an extreme amount of corruption and bribery and just bullcrap with any form of government. And I think the more we move away from government and look at solutions within ourselves and look at things that we can make better and move outside of that system, I think that is definitely the way to go to really kind of free ourselves. And it definitely starts on a micro level, and it starts with corrupt little local officials who think they can do whatever the hell they want. And they only can because we don't know what they're doing. No one's paying attention to them. That's the power of media. That's the power of information. Exposing it and then letting the dust settle where it may, and it usually settles in the right place when there's free flow of information, which of course they're trying to censor and stop, like they have been on our YouTube channel, as usual.
You seem so happy about that, Luke. I
feel I'm angry. I had to deal, like the last week and a half, I had to deal with YouTube and our former MCN multi-channel network that represented us as a media organization that was able to give us better advertising, that gave us music and videos, and we had a whole partnership. We had a whole 1-year contract with it, which was just ended because Fullscreen tells me that YouTube reached out to them and told them that I'm on some blacklist and that they can't have a contract with me. And then Fullscreen, that's from what they told me, said that they had to cut me. And they cut off our contract, and I had to renegotiate and talk and look for other contracts and reach out to YouTube, reach out to Fullscreen, try to get the full story here. But it's definitely something fishy going on, and it's been going on our YouTube channel for our very own from the beginning. I mean, we made the mistake of confronting Eric Schmidt, but I don't see it as a mistake. I see it as a badge of honor, and we're getting screwed for it. And you know what? It doesn't matter. We'll still keep doing this no matter what. We know our viewership is suppressed. We know our monetization is extremely suppressed. We see exactly what's happening, but it's difficult. Man, I can't tell you how hard it is trying to be real independent media without being a corporate shill or without bowing down and bending over to either of the political parties or political ideologies out there. It is difficult, but I wouldn't have it any other way, because I wouldn't be able to sleep at night if I was taking corporate money or bipartisan hack money and bending over for some Republican or conservative or liberal ideology to be propagandist for. That's not a way I want to live my life. I'd rather be broke. I'd rather be real and broke than famous and rich, but not be able to sleep at night. And plus, I also have seen the ramifications of it. I know a lot of these famous commentators and like YouTubers who are on either of the political ideologies and how they have to suppress themselves and suppress some of the bad stuff that happens on their side. And a lot of them are hurt, messed up, effed up human beings who usually rely on a lot of substances. Either alcohol or pills, usually illegal ones, but they screw themselves up and their relationships and their life over because they're not living their true purpose and being totally free, awesome, amazing human beings that are able to express themselves fully without a toilet filter telling you what you can and cannot say. So that's always more important. Sorry, always going on a diatribe.
No, that's a great point, Luke, and a lot of those things I share with you. You know, I'd rather be someone who's honest and real with myself and not compromising my values or my speech for, somebody else's mind control tactics, really. That's what it comes down to. They're telling us what we can and can't talk about, how we're supposed to feel about certain things. And when we don't feel that way, they're punishing us monetarily. And, it's almost like the Chinese system that we talked about, over the week. We haven't done a big story on it, but if you go over to the side channel, you can watch me discussing the social media credit system. And we put that clip over on the Facebook page. But that's really where we're headed. And, unless we abolish things like royalty, Luke, and that's the next story, unless we get rid of these structures that have been in place for so many years of control, the royal family, the Saudi royal family as well, I'm just talking about royalty in general, rule by bloodline, we've got a long way to go. And right now there's a referendum on abolishing the monarchy as soon as the Queen dies. And I'm saying to the world, why are we waiting for the Queen to die? Let's have this referendum tomorrow. Start there. Kick those people out of the palace. Talk about corporate welfare. Are you kidding me? Listen, let's turn it into a museum. Let's make them get things called jobs. Let's let them earn their credentials. And let's move on as a human species beyond royal bloodlines and oligarchy. What do you think, Luke Rudowski?
Well, everyone's, we see a lot of talking points being like, welfare is bad, socialism is bad, communism is bad. Duh, we know they're bad. But the hierarchies of our society are pretty much communistic, socialistic societies that only benefit and play by those rules for the very few who make the rules. When we look at the British royalty, they're just subsidized political figures that really have no relevancy. They're the ones receiving the handouts. They're the ones receiving the welfare. When you look at here in the United States, it's the corporations that are getting the handouts, the corporate welfare, and to a larger extent than the average person. And when you look at the vast amount of money that is just given from everyone, collectively from everyone, and given to these buttholes, it really makes you think. Because media has been very successfully able to make this whole welfare talking point very prevalent amongst a lot of people. I hear it a lot of time when I hear people talking, being like, "Oh, all this money that goes to welfare." Why isn't anyone talking about the corporate welfare? Why isn't anyone talking about the subsidies and money that's given away to the very powerful, to companies and tax incentives to companies like Amazon, to companies like Google, to companies that ultimately are already one of the most powerful companies out there in the world? It makes absolutely no sense at all. And down with the Queen. Let's take away that socialism, that welfare. Let's see if they could fend off for themselves.
No, you're 100% right. And again, I don't see why in this day and age we are allowing this in any way, shape, or form. And, kind of getting back to that social credit score that we were talking about, if you don't think that we're going to have that, at someday in our country, or that's not the plan, and you don't think that your social media presence isn't being tracked, traced, and databased beyond Facebook, first of all, you're being naive. Second of all, you're not paying attention to the news. This is a story from March 29th. So this is the end of the month. This is something WeAreChange missed, Luke. This is something we should have been talking about. The U.S. is set to request 5 years of social media history for all visa applicants. Let me repeat that. That means whatever some European party animal did over the last 5 years and was dumb enough to put on things like Snapchat, to put on things like Facebook and Instagram, is now going to be reviewed for your visa. Now, I understand going after people that have posted things that would have threatened violence against a government or had ties to other government or corporate espionage type agencies, but obviously this goes far beyond that, Luke, and this is a primer for the thought police and the behavior police globally, in my opinion.
Well, it's a threat to the free flow of information, and it's going to soft censor a lot of people from being able to express actual political opinions, which are important for the bigger kind of dialogue. Australia has a very strong vetting system when it comes to their immigration. A lot of people pointed that would be a kind of good model where people look at their education levels, their how much money they earn, their criminal records. But going after someone's social media for 5 years, I mean, I think it's just the kind of a way to not accept anyone, because if you look at anyone's social media presence, there's going to be something that they did that was pretty ridiculous or pretty stupid, or just pretty private. That's going to be very difficult for many people to kind of share. And I think we do deserve the right to have privacy. I do think we have the right to remain anonymous and not have the government in every aspect of our life and know everything about us, because that's the only way to really have a free society. And people have to decide for themselves if they want a free society or they want a controlled one where the government sees and hears everything you do, which they already do to U.S. citizens anyway. If you look at the NSA mass data bulk collection that they're doing, which is very ineffective against terrorism, as has been proven by all the terrorist attacks that have been happening here, the only ones that are really stopped predominantly are the ones that the FBI cooks up and makes up themselves with some mentally retarded human being that they found, and push to do something really stupid with fake guns or fake explosions. Those are the ones that were really stopped. But if you look at all the other terrorist attacks, they failed because of mass data collection of American citizens' private information, which the NSA, even a few years ago, I told former CIA Director Michael Hayden, how does he respond to his NSA officials caught masturbating to people's private photos? This is an actual thing that happened, and it happened just a few years ago. And I was able to confront Hayden on it. He didn't like that question. And he said those officers were punished. But again, when we were talking about big government, there's big chances of corruption. There's big chances of them screwing it up, just like we see almost virtually any kind of big government program or institution. They mess it up and screw it up for everyone. And usually it doesn't work out for the best. So that's why I always believe in less government. Jason, you kind of have a little different opinion on that. You want missiles and launches and moon stuff.
No, that's not true. I like less government. I'm just not an anarchist, and I don't believe that we're going to ever live in this kumbaya society presented in like zeitgeist and other things. But speaking of less government, Luke,
Peter Joseph is actually here at the conference talking too.
Oh, is he?
I was like, yeah.
What conference are you at, by the way?
He was talking about capitalism is bad. I'm like, he was going off.
Well, I'd love to get in a debate with Mr. Joseph. Come on, make it happen.
Okay.
Let's see if we can
I'll
get
set
one.
it up. I'm gonna go. We got to end this broadcast soon. We got to do the dash giveaway. Let's go. Pick up one more story, unless there's other stories you really want to talk about.
You're killing me. We have so much good stuff.
Come on.
All right. Well, first of all, listen.
It's already been like an hour and 10 minutes that I've been on with you. But I think we've been on for like 45 minutes. I'm going to go talk to Peter Joseph, set up the debate, and then probably have a debate between you and him, which I think would be awesome. But he's still on rambling about the same kind of central control thing, which I'm not a big fan of, especially with my family and me coming from Eastern Poland and surviving communism. So, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, Luke, with less control, less federal government, let's shoot through some of these. Trump is going to pull the feds out of K through 12 education. I think this is a great move. I think we have states' rights for a reason. I think this allows communities to, not give in to this idea that we have to train our children to accept their classmates as being binary. That's my point on that. Hold on, we got a super chat. We got a couple, actually. Backish Mail said, at Jason, thank you. It's crazy how people are being extorted. I despise the police. I have Twitter account. Please look it up, what off-duty criminals do on my Twitter. It's MyBrooklyn1. What's this next one? We've got, is Kanye a red pill? Hold on, where did that go? Is
Kanye red pill folks are ready to swallow?
Red pill my bottom dollar. Again, this is a publicity machine. He's not a stupid man. He knows how to play the media. But again, watch that. We talked about it last week, right, Luke? Watch that original breakdown on stage in full and realize this is a man that surrounded himself with insanity, has incredible. And remember, he was about to go bankrupt a couple years ago. Remember that? He has incredible resources, and he knows how to play the media. I gotta pick one.
You said click tits. You said click tits.
Click.
That's all
no, tick clicks.
Huh?
Tick clicks.
Tick clicks. Yeah, it's all tick clicks. That's the way. That's the analogy to describe it. He's doing a very smart PR move to get himself in the news and attention to sell off his music album. That's really it is. He's probably being genuine in some aspects, but again, he's going from like super left to super right, all in a matter of a couple tweets. And shocking a lot of people, and someone that obviously shouldn't be the leading figure in political discourse. Just my opinion, but I may be wrong.
I'm with you there.
All right, one more article.
All right, I got one article. We got to do one video. How's that?
Oh, Jason.
One article here,
Let's go.
Amazon
Let's
stock.
go.
Listen,
Let's go.
Amazon stocks have hit an all-time high just a few days ago on strong earnings. They're jacking up Amazon Prime to $120 a year instead of $100. That doesn't, in fact, that increased their profit. Bezos is getting more powerful by the day, Luke. The power of Bezos is incredible. Had to bring that up. I know that you're big on the Bezos. Now, go ahead.
Not a fan of Bezos and his machine robot dog. I saw a video of that today. Absolutely terrified me. It's just Bezos walking down Amazon headquarters with the robotic dog. Everything about Bezos just gives me the creeps. If you look at what he's doing, especially with his quantum computing and building with artificial intelligence, we're talking about godlike powers. He's already going to the government. Amazon is already putting in patents that they could break encryption, that they could figure out what cryptocurrencies were used and traded in order to help law enforcement. So really, we're talking about an institution that gets a lot of support from the U.S. government, especially with tax incentives, that needs to be stopped immediately, and we can't show our support to them. Like, there's a number of people who are like, yeah, sell your stuff on Amazon, sell your products here, recommend products, do the affiliate code. No, it's easy, it's convenient, yes, but no, stay far away from Jeff Bezos and his robotic dog.
All right, we got one super chat that says, in memory of journalist Becker Rabini, Sweden's. That's Denise Grant. Now, the last thing I want to point out, CNN has now done a story on this Allison Mack and Nexium cult scandal. Now, in the defense of the alternative media and some of the other media out there that's putting out there, they did not talk about the 12-year-old that Rainier was allegedly with. They have not talked about the school with children that they've now closed down in association with this Nexium cult. But what comes out in this 2-minute CNN clip is incredible, so we're going to play it right here. If it will play. Come to me, America. Go ahead.
An actress.
There it is. Well, the whole story is playing.
The show Smallville has been indicted for allegedly recruiting women into a sex cult.
Yeah, we're talking about Allison Mack. She played Clark Kent's friend Chloe. In real life, though, she's accused of helping an alleged sex cult called Nexium and forcing at least 2 women to have sex with the group's leaders. Now, we have more from our affiliate WPIX, but I don't need to be caught off guard here. There are some disturbing details in this that may not be
suitable
proper.
for kids.
Thank you.
I just want to stop that right there and say this isn't suitable for kids, but bombing children in Syria sure is. You know, they don't ever give you any kind of a warning in the middle of the day when they have a story like that, but they're going to warn you about this story. They don't really want you to know it.
Yeah, I mean, the story, I've been reading a little bit about it, is horrifying. There's accounts of women coming out saying that they were stripped naked and held down and had a hot iron put in their pelvis with a mark, with women being traumatized to the point that they're even afraid to speak to law enforcement and prosecutors. There's horrible stories of people being considered slaves and they have to serve their masters. I mean, I'm still perplexed on what the malarkey was going on here and what this person was doing, and if just like a weird offshoot, or if it's kind of a bigger ladder to the bigger kind of sexual predators and pedophiles that are in Hollywood. What do you think, Jason?
Well, we can't forget that this, again, is connected. And this is another thing that you're not going to hear in this report, but it's connected to the Bronfman sisters, the billionaires.
Yeah, I mean, it's just sickening, and it definitely needs to be exposed. We're seeing little puff pieces, but this should be a bigger focus. I mean, we're focusing on it. It's an important story. People need to pay attention to it, and it's really interesting. Whenever these bigger cases come out, they always try to whitewash it. Kevin Spacey came out as, you know, a pedophile, and then the media was talking about, oh, he's gay, how great, instead of he's a pedophile.
Yeah, and you know what? They're still trying to kind of like puff up Allison Mack as a movie star, but again, this is a friend of one of the victims.
Talked about the ordeal.
Yeah.
They
Listen to him.
through.
And she's deeply upset. Her family's torn apart.
She loves her daughter. She wants her daughter to come home.
The cult is based in upstate New York, but authorities say it also has a presence in Brooklyn. Prosecutors allege NXIVM operates under the guise of a secret self-help organization that empowers women. But instead, they were turned into sex slaves for Rainier, and his initials were branded onto their bodies. Zarif has choice words for Mac.
I want to see her put away. She's dangerous, she's sick, she's evil, she's dark, and she's done harm to many people. Imagine having your initials burned into a woman's body. That's happened.
And there you go. So, yeah, we're keeping an eye on that one. But as always, Luke, we do like to end things on an upbeat note, and that's why we're giving $500 away in Dash Digital Cash, our sponsor. Tell the people.
Well, Jason, if you can, go on our Twitter page if you have access to it. You have access to it, right?
Yep.
At WeAreChange NYC, and just put in that we're going to give out the Dash right now. The people who follow, and I believe there's also a Dash account that I tweeted last time we did this on my Twitter account. So if you could find that Dash account, the main Dash account on Twitter and our account, and for everyone who will follow us now and respond or retweet to that status post, we will give you a share of the Dash that we were sponsored with this month by, of course, the Dash community. We're giving out $500. So if one person only does it, one person gets $500. If 100 people do it, everyone gets $5. So we're going to cap it at 100 people. So at least they're going to get $500 if at least 100 people respond with their Dash address. And of course, we also have a link to where you could start your Dash wallet. And by having Dash and by having the wallet, you help some of the transactions go through, and you're participating in a cryptocurrency that is very secure, that is very privacy oriented, and the community has decided to sponsor us within the last month. This is the last month of our sponsorship that we have here with Dash. We asked for 50 Dash. As we know, other media organizations like Ben Swan, I believe Ben Swan has about, I think, close to around 2,000 Dash one time, and I think he got another proposal in for another 2,000. So I think Ben Swan has like 4,000 Dash. Free Thought Project was also sponsored by Dash. They're getting 127 Dash per month for like 3 months. We did 1 month, 50 Dash, just like a little trial run for the community to see how it went. Again, I think we may do another Dash proposal. We just put one in a few days ago, but there's obviously some technical difficulties to put in the proposal. You need 5 Dash. I did that. Somehow the proposal didn't come up. I remember doing another one. It finally came through. I sent out a support ticket to the Dash support email, and I told them, hey, there was an accident here. Just send us back to 5 Dash. The proposal never went through. I got an email response from support saying, oh, I'm just seeing the email now. I put in the proposal. I'm like, no. And that reset our Dash count to 0 after we already had a lot of votes from the master noters who were voting on our Dash proposal. So within the last few days, our proposal reached down to 0. I believe it's back now, and they somehow deleted it. But it's a very confusing cryptocurrency kind of dilemma that we had to deal with a little bit here, and it looks like our proposal hasn't been voted on and supported by the Dash community to be extended, partly because of technical problems and partly because of a lot of other alternative media channels have taken a lot of Dash, and there's not a lot more Dash to give out as well. And the Dash community has been financing a lot of very interesting projects. They've been doing a lot of very good work. They've been a very good kind of charitable arm of this whole cryptocurrency space, and they've been doing really good work. And still, even without the Dash sponsorship, with us just doing this last time, I do really like Dash. I do really like the cryptocurrency. I do see a lot of future in it. I do really like the projects they do. One of the projects that they fund was for my friend Danny Sessions, who's been going all throughout Mexico and helping people deal with the earthquake, and has been helping rebuild people's homes, and has been helping people who are in absolute poverty get back on their feet, primarily because of Dash. So big support to Dash. We may do another proposal. We may even reach out to other cryptocurrencies. I know Pivx does also a different kind of proposals, but we're testing the waters out here. This is a completely new world. It's the Wild West. Cryptocurrencies are a very unpredictable game. I always say, invest what you're willing to lose. because you never know when it could just go down to zero, or Amazon with their quantum computing could just break all the encryption. So again, everything is very, very unpredictable. It's a very wild west world, and we're giving out the last $500 for the month that we were with Dash. I very much enjoyed being a part of that community. We're going to keep talking to them. We maybe reach out to other cryptocurrencies, but obviously we have a lot on our plate. We want to do so much more. It's predominantly just me and Jason doing a lot of the legwork here. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that you're not seeing with me on phone calls with MCNs and major networks, when we having to fly and give speeches and talks. I got another talk coming up at Libertopia, which is in San Diego next week, which I'm going to be at. As you can see here, I'm like all over the place this week. Right now, we're in Texas. I was in New York before this. Before that, I was in Frankfurt doing the live show last Sunday. Before that, I was in Romania. Then I was in Serbia. Then I was in Belgrade. Then I was in Novi Sad. Before that, I was even back in New York. Then I was in Ethiopia, Zimbabwe, Somalia, and this is all within just the last few weeks. I think it hasn't even been a month. No, it's been like 2 to 3 weeks. So again, like, there's a lot going on. I'm taking my travel hacking to the extreme. I'm busting my butt. I'm trying to make things happen. I'm having a lot of meetings. It's very difficult, again, being real independent media without kind of a real budget. Dash kind of provided us that. We were able to upgrade some camera equipment. We're going to buy some more computers as well with that Dash sponsorship. And our dreams are, again, to the moon. We have so many things we want to do, so many projects, so many documentaries Jason wants to do, so many places to travel to. We're going to be at Bilderberg, and it's only again, like, the work is only beginning here. We're not giving up. We're not going away anywhere. And predominantly, it is mainly because of you and your support and your viewership and you guys sharing stuff. So I am eternally grateful to you guys, and I will always serve and promise to do my best to give you the most unpartisan, real news that we could get you.
Yes, Luke, that is the goal. Let's try not to be partisan, and I don't think we have been here, and I think that we do a good job of actually getting people out some information. Lastly, supposed to find out JFK's killers this week. Didn't get that. We're gonna wait another 3 years.
Yeah.
I did do an extensive video on the backup channel on Facebook, on Twitter. Go check it out. Almost an hour long, breaking down that release, some of the documentation. You can go check that out. But like Luke said, we are continuing to try to bring you the real news and original stories as much as possible. And again, without your support, none of this is possible. Luke, I got nothing else for the weekend show. Do you, my friend?
No, except that I love you guys. Thank you again so much for watching. Thanks for Jason for being here with me, reporting live from Texas A&M. We're at my College Station. And next week, San Diego, Libertopia. What else we got coming up? We got a lot of stuff coming up. Pork Fest is coming up. Bilderberg's coming up. Really high season. Expect a lot from us. We're going to be busting our butts, doing the best we can to provide you the best news that we could give you, especially here on the ground. I love you guys. Thank you again so much for watching. Thanks, Jason, for being with me. Stay tuned for more.